So my dad's also an acupuncturist, and he had a private practice in California, and he worked for about 15 years there, and he retired just 9 months ago. About 5 years ago, they bought a property in Tennessee. It's up in a mountain, approximately about 30 acres, and it also has a mobile home on it. Now we're building them a house on that property. David's parents, we bought and furnished a house for them about 2 years ago. It's very much a Korean custom, if not a culture, for the children to take care of parents this way, which is very common in Asian culture. The children like to go up there because, it's so much fun up there. It's just open space, there's no cars that's going back and forth, and they like to ride their bikes up there.
아이고 잘하네.
엄마한테 와. 천천히 와봐. 아이 잘하네. 아이고 잘하네. 아이고 잘하네. 에즈라 해봐. 에즈라 해봐. 아이고 잘. 셋 해봐. 아이고 잘했어. 에즈라 형아 해봐. 에즈라 형아 해봐. 형아. 우리 형아 해봐. So, one of the favorite things that our kids like to do is get on the tractor with the grandpa, and one day grandpa let Seth drive it, and he just got so excited, and so from then on, anytime they see him going up on the tractor, they run up after him and he takes them.
Wow,
and another favorite thing that they like to do is playing on the playground set that Grandpa and Grandma, built. I mean, they put it together, and Grandpa loves to push them on a swing. And so when our kids go there, the moment they wake up, they go outside, and they only come inside for the meal times. And then even at nighttime, when we have to beg them to come inside to, eat dinner and go to sleep because they don't want to come in.
오케이, 자 내려오세요. 위, 이렇게 잘했죠? 아이고 잘했어요. 아이고 잘했어요.
They also really like to jump on the trampoline and play with Grandpa. Sometimes they're constantly begging him to jump up high so that they will go up higher.
여러분, 할아버지를 셋이 다 레슬링을 했어요?
So between Levi, Ezra, and Seth, they're all fighting for Grandpa's affection all the time. Grandpa does play with them quite a bit, hide and seek or whatever it is. They will say, Grandpa, we want to play this game, and then he plays with them. So if we ask them who's your favorite person, they always say Grandpa. So, where my parents live, they probably have like 2 or 3 other neighbors, that's it. And one of our closest neighbors, they have about 4 dogs. And one day one of the dogs came, and the kids got interested, and they started following after the dog, but not too close because they were too scared. But anytime the dog would go further, they would, chase after him a little bit more. And then when the dog would stop, they would stop too. And I thought that was kind of cute.
Bye, Mama. Bye, Mama.
So they always watch what my parents are doing, whether it's gardening, tractor, or whatever it is. And they've seen my parents build different things on the property. And so they have these long wooden planks around the property, and they like to play with that. And they act like they're the carpenter, and they try to act what Grandpa did. So that's also one of their favorite pastimes. So when it's raining, it's hard because, the mobile home, it's so small, and they like to do indoor stuff like gymnastics or coloring.
에즈라도 잘하네. 오. 오, 잘한다. 오, 잘한다.
So when this whole COVID thing happened, Seth, our oldest, was attending a small private school, and of course, everyone moved into virtual learning at that time when COVID broke out. So 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes in the afternoon, he has to log onto the computer and attend his class virtually. So in between the morning and afternoon virtual learning, there's a time between like 3-4 hours, and the teacher assigns him homework for the day. So, either he makes letters with Play-Doh or paint or crayon, and he seems to really enjoy doing that. And then, of course, his brother wants to touch everything then too.
S, 여기는 E, 여기는 D, 여기는 A.
아이고 잘했어요.
여기
네.
선생님이 이렇게 하라고 그랬어요.
맞아요. 아유 잘했어요. 자 이제 선생님이 이제 이거 치우고 바깥에 나가서 운동을 하래요. 뛰어놀아야지 된대요.
여기 뭐가 좋아? 시골이? 에? 몰라.
농사.
아 농사.
So the Korean word for farming, it's 농사. And the kids, they're always watching where the grandparents are and what they're doing, and they love following them around and trying to help with 농사, farming. So because the property was completely filled with trees and they got rid of the trees, there's a lot of tree roots on the bottom. So first we have to get the tree roots out to prepare the land. And then you also have to go through to make sure there's no rocks and things like that. And then when you've cleared up a little bit, then the grandpa uses a tiller to prep the land. So one day my mom decided to plant the potatoes, and you have to prep the potatoes. And how you do it is you get a regular potato and then you cut it into a couple pieces. And then you kind of marinate it with an ash, because ash works like a fertilizer.
자, 셋 에즈라 뭐 하고 있어요 지금? 공부해요. 공부는 맞지. 에즈라 뭐 해요? 이거 감자.
And then you have to prepare the soil, adding the fertilizer to it. And then after that, you make a little mound and then you plant the potato into the soil. So Seth really enjoyed planting the potatoes. Ezra, he's just all over the property. And Levi, if you don't give him attention, he cries. So it's, it gets a little bit hectic sometimes, but one thing good about living in the country, everything is just freestyle. 얘는 도움이 안 돼. First, plant time, potato field에요. 할머니 할아버지랑.
여기 사요.
So at home, our family worship. Of course, David leads out with his guitar, and kids love to sing and dance. My dad, who is also very musically talented, and just as Levi enjoyed our worship time at home, he's really enjoying our worship time in the countryside with the grandparents. So David would do the COVID testing at our office parking lot every single day at 3:30 p.m. And so what we did was on my phone, I put an alarm at 3:30, and whatever we were doing, whether it was studying or playing outside or farming, anytime my alarm would ring, the kids would get together and then we would pray for David and our office staff and all their families, and we would have a special prayer so that God would protect all of them from not catching corona.
이게 아버지, 우리 아빠 코로나 바이러스 안 걸리게 해주세요. 예수님 이름을
앞에 사람들.
앞에 사람들도 예수님 이름을 간절히 기도드렸습니다.
After being several days at the farm, kids were really starting to miss David. They did FaceTime with David every night, but Ezra, who's still only 2.5 and who doesn't really understand the full concept of COVID, he would always ask me about Dad, and he would tell me that he misses Dad. And
에즈라, 우리 집에 갈까? 에즈라, 아빠 보고 싶어요? 아빠한테 갈까? 아빠 보고 싶어?
Levi can't of course, he's only 1.5, so he doesn't really talk that well yet. But when David gets on the phone at nighttime and he comes on the screen to FaceTime, Levi gets very excited, saying "아빠, 아빠," which means daddy. 나물이도 아빠 보고 싶어요?
So after my wife and the kids went to Tennessee to the farm, I began to focus more on my work, especially testing and diagnosing patients and treating patients who had coronavirus. And each day we would go out to the parking lot around 3:30 in the afternoon, and the cars would be lined up to be tested. And I wore my hazmat suit that Esther bought for me, and I felt pretty secure in there. It became quite serious because the number of coronavirus patients kept going up higher and higher. In fact, we kept a tally of all the patients we tested, and 1 out of 5 patients that we tested came back positive for COVID-19. And some of them became very sick and ended up in the hospital on ventilators, fighting for their life. After each day of testing, I would come home and I would take a shower, and even though I walk into the house and it's empty, so part of me felt really bad that I was separated from my family, including our newly adopted Levi. But a part of me felt relieved because I felt like I may be still carrying germs from work, and I didn't want to expose my children or my wife. So it would be difficult if they were there and I couldn't hug them or kiss them. So it felt a bit lonely coming home, but at the same time, we knew that this was the right decision that we made for our family. So usually our household duties get divided up. I focus more on work, and Esther focuses more on children and our meals and our household chores. And so without Esther being at home, I started picking up more of the household chores, like cooking and washing the dishes and doing the laundry. And I realized how much Esther really does for our home, and I had a newfound appreciation of all that she does for our family. So thank you, Esther. In the morning, I usually eat cereal and fruit, and I like to have the fruit prepared ahead of time, and Esther usually prepares it for me the night before. But since she was gone, I prepared my own fruit. One of the fruits that I really like is the Korean pear. The Korean pear is different than American pear. It's first of all, it's not pear-shaped, it's round. And second of all, it's very large, but it is very delicious. I think you'll like it. So also for lunch, every day I eat a large bowl of salad. And last year we went to Israel for a tour, and every day during lunch they fed us cucumber and tomato salad, and we really loved it. So when we came back home, I switched my lunch routine of my salad. Instead of lettuce, we started using cucumber and tomatoes, and sometimes we would throw in olives and avocado as well, and I really enjoyed the Mediterranean salad. So when I came home during this COVID crisis, I had to prepare my own dinner, and I would try to pick dishes that are very quick in preparation time. And so one of those things that I like to prepare is air-fried vegetables. So we had bought an air fryer last year, and we tried different vegetables out, and a couple of my favorites is the mushroom and cauliflower. And so what I would do is cut up the cauliflower and mushrooms and put it on an aluminum foil and lightly spray it with oil, and then put a little bit of seasoning on top. And then I would put it in the air fryer and maybe for 10 to 12 minutes. And you know, after it's done, the vegetables are really like crispy on the outside and moist on the inside. It's really good. You should try it. So my usual routine is that I'd like to go to the gym and play racquetball for my exercise, but because of the COVID, the gyms were all closed, so I really don't like doing treadmill and things like that. It's kind of boring. But what I did enjoy was going outside and biking around the neighborhood. So on sunny days, I would go out and ride my bike and enjoy the fresh air. One big problem I began to realize is that my hair was getting longer and longer and more difficult to manage because it was getting disheveled and bushy, and the barber shops were closed. So I had bought a hair cutting scissors and trimmers, and I realized how difficult this task is, trying to cut your own hair, especially the back of your hair. And it was a challenge, and it took me, the first time I tried cutting my hair, it took me an hour. But the second and third times I got faster and faster. So one day I went to the mailbox and found a letter from Seth, and I was shocked because this was my first time ever seeing a letter from my own child. And so I opened the card, and it was so sweet because, Seth is only 4 years old and he's just beginning to write the alphabet. And so it was so meaningful for me to see his words, I love you, Daddy, I do. So the fact that he expressed himself this way, it just brought tears to my eyes. And I began to miss all of my family more and more. And I began wishing that this coronavirus would go away soon so that I could be reunited with my family.
먼지 한 달 잤나?